Hello, I'm Peter Bell, and I'm here with Mr. Charles Bud MaLette. Hello, Charles.
Oh, hi, Peter. Nice to talk to you today.
Great, thanks. And you're the CEO of Nine Metals
Yeah, Nine
Mining.
Mile Metals.
Thank you.
And the symbol's NINE, which most people know.
Yeah, so there's been a bunch of buzz this week. Here we are, Friday, June 10th. Market's closed, PDAC in the days ahead. And you guys have stirred up a whole bunch of attention for good reason. I would say kudos to you for giving investors a chance to get some information sooner. And, you know, the wait times at assay labs for some of these things have been outrageous. And the ability to actually have some XRF information out in a standardized, systematic way, the breath of fresh air.
Well, I'm glad you said standardized, because that's one of the things we've been trying to achieve, is to do it in a lab-like way. And so when we analyze the core after it's split, it's turned upside down, and we have a gun that's fixed. And so there's 40 data points every meter, 400 for 10 meters. And we don't influence what we're taking a laser picture of. So, and we do spend a lot of time at it, make sure it's calibrated properly, talk to the company on it, have blanks. Yeah. And I do believe the one thing I'd like to say is we will have assays, and when we do and compare them, our expectations are that they won't be that far off the XRF. And
well, and just looking at the visual indication of the core, you know, the type of mineralization you're seeing there, it's not like the numbers that are coming out of the analysis sound particularly unrealistic, you know?
Yeah, and we do cut the core
crazy.
So we can see that all the way through it may be supportive in terms of copper or whatever, zinc, right? So again, we're being careful. And one thing I would like to say is there's no silvers and golds here, but we've always had silver and gold.
Stay away from it. Well, and the difference of order of magnitude, ppm versus percentage points. You know, like the accuracy on something that's measured in ppm versus percentage points is drastically different, right? So good to stick to the larger numbers that are a little safer, a little more reliable. I saw one person kind of questioning, oh, well, maybe they zap the core at these selective spots. And it's like, well, guys, have you seen the core? Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Like, they put pictures in the news release, guys. You want to talk about
I wish I could
spots.
Send everybody a rock, because when you pick this stuff up, I mean, these rocks are heavy, and it's obvious they're filled with metal. I mean, it's much simpler than trying to see some gold that doesn't show up.
And speaking of that, it sounds like you have found a home for a box or two at the event next week in Toronto.
Yes, and so we do have a booth with a company that's been kind enough, because listen, we did drill. We didn't know what we'd come up with. So we couldn't go ahead and plan for PDAC without something to tell people. So we are sharing a booth with a company I think you know of, Windfall Geotech. Their booth number is 2149. And Patrick Cruikshank is doing the bulk of the work, actually right on the property in the core shack, helping with everything, and will be there with the geologist, Gary Lohman.
Oh,
so they'll have the core and its booth, again, 2149.
Yeah, well done. I think that'll be a hot spot of activity there. Really cool. I'm afraid I won't be there myself, but hope you guys have lots of fun.
Well, we should, and expectations, like I say, these guys are working really hard right now to try and get more results out for next week.
Yeah, well, once you get into it, you know, the rigs can produce pretty quickly, you know, especially when we're talking about targets near surface like this.
Yes, I mean the drilling went quite quickly. Actually, the XRF takes an hour a meter for
Yeah.
the XRF, and so to be careful. The other thing I'll mention that we did put in the news release, we actually shipped 25 meters of core in,
Yeah.
even though we put out 11 meters in this drill hole, that there was arsenic and other things and sulfides, so we did ship the full 25 meters.
Yeah, good. Well, and I'm a little, aggressive with some of this stuff too, and I'd say, don't be scared to send some of it off for some preliminary met testing as well, sooner than later.
Yeah.
Love to see.
So there is a lot to do here, as you know.
There's a lot to do. There's a lot. It's a
we...
long runway. You've drilled copper. Your problems are just beginning here, bud.
Well, again, I am not the most experienced person in the Bathurst. We are there. But my understanding is to have copper results like this are unique. That mostly they don't find 9% copper in most of the drilling. And most of the drilling is different. This Willet horizon is usually deeper, and you don't get this kind of result. So we can be optimistic, right?
Yeah, there was some useful chatter online. CEO.ca had some helpful information about kind of the work that had been done prior to now, and describing kind of surface outcrop and things to kind of get me in the ballpark, and even just a rough understanding of what we're talking about here. And it sounds like the private company, whose name escapes me, but
Fiddlehead,
that's right. Yeah, it sounds like they did a pretty good job, getting this project ready for the market.
Yeah, and they'd spent quite a bit of time and money doing a lot of surface work, going over old results, and obviously it's paid off for us. And I guess the one thing I'll say too is we did say in the news release we did drill 2 holes for the geophysics. And so we have now got the permit. That will hopefully be done very quickly here in the next week or two. And that will give us a picture, which we don't have now.
That's another thing that
probably the most important
love.
thing.
Oh, the borehole EM is such a useful tool. Yeah, again, kudos to you for using that, because that's another thing, especially when you have these kind of podiform shaped deposits and you think it's going to be small but highly conductive. It's like, well, guys, 3D geophysics, please, downhole something, like, come on. And I don't know, I've been yelling at people about that for years and nobody ever really wanted to. But then just recently I've seen company after company talking about borehole EM, and I'm really glad to see that getting used more widely. It's a very effective tool when you're at the deposit scale. It's not project scale, where do we search, but it's once you're in and around some high grade, it's like, well, how much is there? And the potential to get some rough volumetric numbers, not definitive or anything like that, but to start wrapping your head. I would appreciate a borehole EM survey more than a scissor hole, really.
Yeah, no, and me too. That, I think I talked to Patrick, and I mean, that we feel is really going to be something that gives us a lot of information. But also, we do have EarthX. I don't know, some people know EarthX, some don't. It's AI technology.
Yeah, I don't.
And they are doing, what they do is they take all the information, all the historical, back to 1980, any drill holes. They take a sample of the core, they send it to the lab. So they put all the information that's possible. They fly the property, right, with the drone, and get all the possible geophysics information, put everything on a 3D model for us. Once we get that, it'll give us and what they do is they spot the drill hole colors, the direction, the depth, and they've been very, very successful. So we are using them also.
Well, it's a good bit of competitive tension there to have your core at the Windfall booth and the EarthX guys in the background. And hey, look, Goldspot bought this company and that company. They've gone on a shopping spree. So who's to say Windfall couldn't find some partnerships or whatever down the line? Who knows?
Yes. We are thankful to these guys so that we do have a place to show this core, and everybody wants to see the core, and we're hoping that'll bode well here as we go along this coming week.
Well, Gaspé Peninsula, Quebec side there has had a bit of love, and there's some significant copper history there.
Mm-hmm.
New Brunswick, not so far away. So and the other stuff in Newfoundland. York Harbor having a lot of market attention. Yeah, what a treat there. And I like Spruce Ridge. I like that Burnt Lake deposit. Because that's a little bit further along in terms of drilling off, and they got a PEA. And I liked what I heard about in their PEA with the starter pits shifting to underground. Relatively small scale, 100 ton a day. Oh, okay, guys, right on. It's not a mega mine, but it could be wild. It could be
listen.
profitable.
If you look at this here, what we could soon have, you could do a bulk sample that would produce. Look at that.
Yeah.
If you, Wesley from Windfall told me that he calculated that with the results we have right now, not including gold and silver, we have $1,450 rock per ton. 1,000 tons comes out fairly significant. Not hard to get that, right?
Yeah. Well, and there's discount factors for this and payable metals for that, and there's all kinds of devils in the details.
Yeah. Listen, that's
but it's a great litmus test, and 1,000 tons. I don't know if you could find 1,000 tons of that kind of grade, but
yes, I believe
even if it blends,
wouldn't be difficult. I think we could we certainly could have that right now. I believe with the drill holes
from surface
we've got.
too.
Yeah,
and without significant stripping or waste. How big of a pit would you have to wrap around that to kind of?
So that's that's pie in the sky, right? That's something to talk about, but not something we're planning right now.
Well, and it's one of the things that the regulators get upset about, when you start talking about dollar values and mine plans, but at the same time, we need to upgrade the rules to kind of match the technology, and the Canadian mining business seems to be suffering relative to, the Aussies, I'd say, and it's a question of why, right? And those are big questions. I don't have the answers, but there's a bunch of stuff with 43-101 that's not clear. And I've heard countless times people say, "Oh, well, you can't do that." It's like, okay, are you sure? Well, and it turns out you can. It's just that some geologist told them that they couldn't, or when they went to school, they learned that they're not supposed to, and a bunch of bad habits that kind of permeate the business. And it's like, let's, and that's the thing with using XRF very carefully too. Is
and that's the thing we wanted to be sure of, Peter. We wanted to be very, very careful when our assays come out. We'd like them, to be certainly right on with the XRF.
Well, and anyone who's looking at your news flow versus your stock chart might notice that, there was a run in the chart that happened around the time when you first press released the pictures of the core. So anyone who's really upset about you posting XRF, they should also go and look at that news release. Because
and I mean, you notice people have commented before we put that out, the stock hadn't traded in a week. We were very quiet.
Totally dead. Absolutely. And what a market for it. This is very scary out there. Ghost town in some ways. But look at what happens when you drop results, and you do it in a careful way, right? And one other news release that I saw from you guys that I liked was your technical committee. I think that has some meaning as well.
Yes, so we do have some people with some knowledge, like one of our new directors, Jean-Luc, spent 2 years in Bathurst, right?
Yeah.
Working, I mean, certainly a long time ago, but he did spend a long time. He ran in the Congo a mine for 7 years as the mine manager. So we have experience. Patrick has a lot of experience. Gary has a lot of experience. EarthX certainly, they, as I have a member there that can help us enormously.
And I've heard weird things about New Brunswick and all, but that's not. But then
New
again,
Brunswick,
I'm seeing success. I'm seeing companies with success out there. So it's like I don't
people
have a lot of experience there either. But
the people from the government, they could not be more helpful. It took us 30 days to get the permit.
Oh my
Now
God.
compare that
Oh
to British
For
Columbia.
drilling? For drilling?
Yes.
Oh boy. Okay.
So New Brunswick, they want business, they want mining, and they are more than helpful. They're going to come have a look at the core. We've applied for grants. We're pretty sure we'll get them. They could not be more helpful. Like the permits for the downhole geophysics only took a week.
Oh my God. That's well, and again, I'm talking about, it's refreshing to hear this. It's refreshing. This is another one.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about bucking the trend, right? Because I think most of us have kind of just, I guess that's the way it is. Assays
That's
take
the
a
way
year,
it is.
and permits take 5 years, and it'll be out of date by the time you get it. And, whoa, wake up call, guys. Yeah. And what investors need to know is that capital is global, and it is mobile, and it goes where it's treated well. And whether or not it's being treated well in the exploration business at large, whatever, it's all about the specifics. And that comes down to management teams and jurisdictions. So if you have, a jurisdiction that's making it easy to operate, that's going to attract investment. And then, and it's just up to the management teams to make the best of what they have in the ground.
So listen, I do appreciate the call. I will happily have a call another time when we go down the road here and have a lot more information for the market.
Yeah, happy to dive into the technical side sometime with one of your team members or two.
Yeah, Gary or Patrick on once. And again, we're being a bit cautious because we would like to get a lot more news out to the market, and then we can hold a call and cover any questions anybody has.
Yeah.
Okay.
In the meantime, thanks much. No, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Peter. I appreciate it. Bye-bye.